A service level agreement is a part of a service contract where a service is formally defined. In practice, the term SLA is sometimes used to refer to the contracted delivery time. As an example, Internet service providers and telcos will commonly include service level agreements within the terms of their contracts with customers to define the level, S, of service being sold in plain language terms. In this case, the SLA will typically have a technical definition in terms of mean time between failures, mean time to repair or mean time to recovery. Various data rates, throughput, jitter, or similar measurable details. Overview: a service level agreement is an agreement between two or more parties, where one is the customer and the others are service providers. This can be a legally binding formal or an informal contract. Contracts between the service provider and other third parties are often called SLAs. Because the level of service has been set by the customer, there can be no agreement between third parties. These agreements are simply contracts. Operational level agreements or OLAs, however, may be used by internal groups to support SLAs. SLAs commonly include segments to address a definition of services, performance measurement, problem management, customer duties, warranties, disaster recovery, termination of agreement. In order to ensure that SLAs are consistently met, these agreements are often designed with specific lines of demarcation, and the parties involved are required to meet regularly to create an open forum for communication. Contract enforcement should be rigidly enforced, but most SLAs also leave room for annual revisitation so that it is possible to make changes based on new information. SLAs have been used since late 1980s by fixed-line telecom operators as part of their contracts with their corporate customers. This practice has spread such that now it is common for a customer to engage a service provider by including a service level agreement in a wide range of service contracts in practically all industries and markets. Internal departments in larger organizations have adopted the idea of using service-level agreements with their internal customers as users in other departments within the same organization. One benefit of this can be to enable the quality of service to be benchmarked with that agreed to across multiple locations or between different business units. This internal benchmarking can also be used to market test and provide a value comparison between an in-house department and an external service provider. Service-level agreements are, by their nature, output-based. The result of the services received by the customer is the subject of the agreement. The service provider can demonstrate their value by organizing themselves with ingenuity, capability, and knowledge to deliver the service required, perhaps in an innovative way. Organizations can also specify the way the service is to be delivered, through a specification and using subordinate objectives other than those related to the level of service. This type of agreement is known as an input SLA. This latter type of requirement is becoming obsolete as organizations become more demanding and shift the delivery methodology risk onto the service provider. Service-level agreements are also defined at different levels: customer-based SLA, an agreement with an individual customer group, covering all the services they use. For example, an SLA between a supplier and the finance department of a large organization for the services such as finance system, payroll system, billing system, procurement purchase system, etc. Service-based SLA, an agreement for all customers using the services being delivered by the service provider. For example, a car service station offers a routine service to all the customers and offers certain maintenance as a part of offer with a universal charging. A mobile service provider offers a routine service to all the customers and offers certain maintenance as a part of offer with a universal charging, an email system for the entire organization. There are chances of difficulties arising in this type of SLA as level of the services being offered may vary for different customers. Multi-level SLA, the SLA is split into the different levels, each addressing different set of customers for the same services, in the same SLA. Corporate level SLA, covering all the generic service level management issues appropriate to every customer throughout the organization. These issues are likely to be less volatile and so updates are less frequently required. Customer level SLA, covering all SLM issues relevant to the particular customer group, regardless of the services being used. Service Level SLA, covering all SLMSU relevant to the specific services, in relation to this specific customer group. Common metrics. Service level agreements can contain numerous service performance metrics with corresponding service level objectives. A common case in IT service management is a call center or service desk. Metrics commonly agreed to in these cases include ABA, percentage of calls abandoned while waiting to be answered; ASA, average time it takes for a call to be answered by the service desk; TSF, percentage of calls answered within a definite time frame, for example, 80% in 20 seconds; FCR, percentage of incoming calls that can be resolved without the use of a callback or without having the caller call back the help desk to finish resolving the case; TAT, time taken to complete a certain task; MTTR, time taken to recover after an outage of service. Uptime is also a common metric, often used for data services such as shared hosting, virtual private servers and dedicated servers. Common agreements include percentage of network uptime, power uptime, number of scheduled maintenance windows, etc. Many SLAs track to the Information Technology Infrastructure Library specifications when applied to IT services. Specific example, backbone Internet providers. It is not uncommon for an Internet backbone service provider to explicitly state its own service level agreement on its website. The U.S. Telecommunications Act of 1996 does not expressly mandate that companies have SLAs, but it does provide a framework for firms to do so in Sections 251 and 252. Section 252, c. 1, for example, requires that ILECs negotiate in good faith regarding things like resale, access to rights of way, and so forth. WSLA, a Web Service Level Agreement, is a standard for service level agreement compliance monitoring of web services. It allows authors to specify the performance metrics associated with a web service application, desired performance targets, and actions that should be performed when performance is not met. WSLA Language Specification, version 1.0 was published by IBM on January 28, 2001. Cloud computing. The underlying benefit of cloud computing is shared resources, which is supported by the underlying nature of a shared infrastructure environment. Thus, service-level agreements span across the cloud and are offered by service providers as a service-based agreement rather than a customer-based agreement. Measuring, monitoring and reporting on cloud performance is based upon an end-user experience or the end-user's ability to consume resources. The downside of cloud computing, relative to SLAs, is the difficulty in determining root cause for service interruptions due to the complex nature of the environment. As applications are moved from dedicated hardware into the cloud, these applications need to achieve the same or even more demanding levels of service as classical installations. SLAs for cloud services focus on characteristics of the data center and more recently include characteristics of the network to support end-to-end SLAs. Any SLA management strategy considers two well-differentiated phases: the negotiation of the contract and the monitoring of its fulfillments in real time. Thus, SLA management encompasses the SLA contract definition, basic schema with the COS parameters, SLA negotiation, SLA monitoring, and SLA enforcement according to defined policies. The main point is to build a new layer upon the grid, cloud, or SOA middleware able to create a negotiation mechanism between providers and consumers of services. An example is the European Union Euro-funded Framework 7 research project, SLA at SOI, which is researching aspects of multi-level, multi-provider SLAs within service-oriented infrastructure and cloud computing. While another EU-funded project, Vision Cloud, has provided results with respect to content-oriented SLAs. FP7IRMOS also investigated aspects of translating application-level SLA terms to resource-based attributes in an effort to bridge the gap between client-side expectations and cloud provider resource management mechanisms. A summary of the results of various research projects in the area of SLAs has been provided by the European Commission. Outsourcing, Outsourcing involves transfer of responsibility from an organization to a supplier. The management of this new arrangement is through a contract that may include one or more service level agreement, S. The contract may involve financial penalties and the right to terminate if SLA's metrics are consistently missed. Setting, tracking, and managing SLAs is an important part of the outsourcing relationship management discipline. It is typical that specific SLAs are negotiated upfront as part of the outsourcing contract, and they are utilized as one of the primary tools of outsourcing governance. In software development, specific SLAs can apply to application outsourcing contracts in line with standards in software quality, and recommendations provided by neutral organizations like CISQ, which has published numerous papers on the topic that are available to the public at http://www.it-cisq.org. See also, Operational Level Agreement, IT Cost Transparency, Network Monitoring, Service-Oriented Architecture, References. External links, Service Level Agreement S-Cube Knowledge Model.